Thank you for joining us today and welcome back to WAMS Webinar Wednesdays. Kathleen Kvitek, WAMS Director of Training, will be joining us, and today we will be discussing the top threats we are seeing for 2019, as well as a few tips to combat them and stay a little safer. If you are not too familiar with WAMS, I'll share a little bit about us. WAMS has been providing law firms and businesses with computer consulting and support services since '74. We continue our reputation for quality and service today by installing and proactively maintaining computer systems, as well as providing technology solutions for hundreds of law firms and businesses. We keep our implementation agreements friendly and flexible to take advantage of opportunities that benefit both the client and WAMS. From start to finish, we care about your business and support our clients to be as successful as possible. Today we will cover data theft and manipulation, advances in attacker strategy, cyber risk insurance, dual-factor authentication, and then Kathleen will walk you through those tips for protection. If you have any questions, please send them to info@wamsinc.com. That is info@wamsinc.com, and we will address them in a timely manner after the presentation. Let's go ahead and get started. First up, data theft and data manipulation. So previously we have seen data theft, website hacking, and exploitation of data for personal gain, selling stolen data, hacking into websites to affect businesses and organizations, etc. These attacks were straightforward and you knew what was happening right away. Now these attacks are moving from data theft and website hacking to attacking data integrity itself, making changes to the data, mixing things up, affecting people in a whole new way. Instead of straightforward theft of data, this holds the potential to cause long-term reputation damage to both individuals as well as groups. This is very important for anyone utilizing data for their job functions and anyone that works with client data that cannot afford to be compromised. Next up, we are seeing these advances in attacker strategy. So attackers are becoming bolder and smarter. It is predicted that they will become more organized and less commercialized. They will also base themselves in countries where cybercrime isn't viewed as much of a crime, or they cannot be held under your current location's jurisdiction. They will continue to exploit the dark web in order to successfully hide and to communicate with other criminals. They also, and possibly the scariest of them all, will continue to improve their abilities to write bespoke targeted code at an alarming rate, something we have actually already started to see. Essentially, this is happening faster than defenders are able to counter and get ahead of these attacks. So for every ransomware being stopped, 2 more are popping up. And with these increases in attacks, we are seeing that cyber risk insurance is becoming more and more common. This type of insurance will increasingly become part of operational risk strategies. And as the industry evolves, the types of coverage to be aware of include both first and third-party coverage, so not only covering you, but your clients as well. Cost of legal fees and settlements if your business is sued due to a data breach. Coverage for lost income and a portion of the business's lost profits if business operations are disrupted. PR reputation damage work done to offset the results of a data breach. IT forensics teams assigned to uncover the scope of data breach to discover the source of the attack. Credit monitoring offered to your impacted customers to ensure that their leaked info is not being used illegally. And costs covered to continually update expensive software and hardware when applicable. And last but certainly not least, dual-factor authentication is becoming bigger than ever. Before it was simple, something like an extra security question, your dad's middle name, your mother's maiden name, things of that nature. Now we are seeing a much greater acceptance of use of biometrics, facial recognition, QR codes, and text codes being sent to mobile devices to increase security as organizations and users gain trust that these approaches provide additional security to currently insecure elements at places like voting booths, DMV registration, and things of that nature. This type of coverage and security will become more and more important as customers will increasingly focus on effective risk management as a differentiator when looking for businesses and law firms to work with. Now that we know a little more about what's out there, Kathleen has some fantastic tips for protecting yourself against these threats.
Hi, everyone. So the first topic that I want to discuss with you is suspicious emails. And what may not be so obvious is that just because you recognize the sender's name doesn't necessarily mean that the email is safe or legitimate. If you suspect that there's something off about an email, maybe the language just doesn't seem quite right, definitely do not reply. And if you're feeling like something is off, just when it comes to suspicious emails, definitely trust your instincts. Now, we're going to look at something important to note about how to tell if an email is not from the person it says it's from. So if we zoom in here, you can see that this email says it's from Bill Gates. Now, obviously, this is a joke. I'm not sure how many of you would actually be receiving a mail in your mailbox that says it's from Bill Gates. But the important thing to note is that although it says from Bill Gates, the email address following Bill Gates's name says totally genuine at outlook.com. So that's where the email is actually coming from. It is not coming from Bill Gates. So again, even though this is kind of a joke, when you receive an email in your mailbox from somebody who you recognize, the name that you recognize, you should just kind of let your eye flick over to the email address following the person's name, because that will tell you who the email is really from. And we're also not only going to be talking about suspicious emails, but we're going to talk about recognizing dangerous links and attachments in emails that are potentially dangerous. So our next topic is going to be recognizing dangerous links and attachments. So if we zoom in on this sample email, what you can see is that this email was sent to my Yahoo Mail. It says it's from Apple support, but the email address following Apple support is definitely a phony email address. And so again, it's just something you want to be aware of, is that just because an email says it's from someone you know or from a recognized company doesn't necessarily mean that it's coming from there. And you can always tell by looking at the email address that follows the from name. So the other thing we're going to note about this particular email is that it's asking me to sign into my Apple account. And next to it, you'll see a little pop-up there, and I've captured that in a screenshot. And what that's showing you is that when I hovered over that button that says sign into your account, you will see a little pop-up somewhere, sometimes at the bottom of the screen, sometimes right over the link itself. So just look around, take the mouse, hover over the link, don't click, and then you'll see the pop-up that will tell you where that link will take you. So if the link looks like it's taking you somewhere that's not safe, don't click the link. Now, this might be kind of an obvious example of a spam and potentially dangerous email, because there are some things in here that just look like it doesn't make sense. Why is there some, why does it say that it's from a country someone's logged in from Cambodia? So maybe this is an obvious example, but noting who an email is from and where a link will take you is going to be very important. Another thing that I want to just talk to you about briefly is attachments and recognizing or being careful about attachments. One of the things that's trending right now is emails with zip file attachments. And what's happening is the zip files are compressing attachments that contain viruses. So you might see an attachment to an email that has a .zip, but inside that zip file is a PDF that contains a virus. And this is becoming more and more popular because virus scanners aren't always able to easily identify dangerous zip files because of the fact that there are buried documents. So if you receive an attachment from someone and you're not expecting to receive a zip file, or and even if it's someone you know, I would probably just get in touch with that person and make sure that they purposely sent you a zip file. Now, a lot of email blockers will not allow zip files to come through at all, but that depends on your email security. So be aware of zip files. Other attachments that have potential risk are going to be files that have an extension that says .exe. That's an executable file that will execute a script that could run something malicious or dangerous. And there are others out there, but .exe could be potentially very dangerous. .bat, that's B as in boy, bat. That's a file, basically, also a batch file that runs a script that could run something suspicious. There are many more out there, but those are a few of them that I want you to be acutely aware of: zip files, exe, and .bat. And then regarding extensions of attachments, another thing to be careful of are attachments that have an extension, have double extensions. So for example, you might get an attachment that looks like it's a Word document. So it says .doc or .docx, but then following it is another dot and then a .exe. So if you see an attachment that has a double extension, definitely be very wary and very suspicious and check with the sender. Don't click those attachments and open them up. And this might be obvious, but just worth pointing out. You should never unsubscribe to emails that are coming in as spam, because that link itself could contain a virus. And then another thing is to never reply to spam or unsolicited email, and that's because all that will do is alert the spammer that your email address is active, and they will have a better chance of attempting to trick you again. So definitely no replies and no unsubscribes to spam emails. Okay, so our next topic is a little bit about safe web browsing. So in general, when you are going to navigate to a website that requires you to log in, you always want to make sure the website has a valid SSL certificate connected to it. So what is an SSL certificate? What does that mean? The short answer is simply to look to make sure the web address starts with HTTPS. So if you'll notice that this Wells Fargo login page, the web address starts with HTTPS. There's also a padlock next to it, so HTTPS. That's letting you know that that's a secure website, which means that you are safe to log in to that account or that website. The S itself actually stands for secure. So if you are asked to log in, or you're going to log into a website and the web address starts with HTTP and there's no S, then it's not secure and you should not be logging into it. Here's an example of a website that when I look for it, it actually says it's not secure. I don't even see the HTTP. It's not there at all. It tells me it's not secure. Your browser may not do that, but it's just something to keep in mind. Now, this particular website, I'm not going to log into. It's funny that it came up. And it's about email fraud and that kind of thing. And their website itself is actually not secure. I thought that was kind of funny, but I'm okay with that one because I'm not going to be logging into it. But I do want to talk to you just a little bit more about what a secure website really is and what an SSL certificate does for you. The SSL stands for Secure Sockets Layer, and it basically ensures and authenticates a website's identity. So another thing that it does is it encrypts information sent to the website server. So that's why when you go to log into an email that says HTTPS, that extra layer of security, it encrypts your login information. And just for everyone's information, encryption basically just means to scramble. So your login or your personal data or whatever it is that is being transferred when you're logging into a website that is secure with a certificate, that data is being scrambled, and the only way to unscramble the data is that there is a special decryption key on the other end. So that's why it's okay to log into the HTTPS websites. And when you log in again to like a bank website, your browser will look for this digital certificate and make sure you have a secure connection. So that's why my browser here told me that this particular website is not secure. So I wouldn't be logging into that. So sharing login information. As you can see by my slide, this one is simple. Never send login and password information in an email. No matter how secure you think your own system is or anything like that, if you need to share a login information and password with somebody, send that information in a text, probably in different text messages, and or just make a phone call. Do not ever email a login and password to somebody. All right, so another tip I'm going to discuss with you is password safety. So some of these are obvious, and common sense really does come into play when you're talking about cybersecurity, but our lives are busy, our email boxes are full, and it's much easier to preach than it is to practice a lot of these. And you know that there's always that one person who just doesn't either understand the technology as well as they should in an office, or they just kind of have their old ways of doing things. And so even if you have everyone in your office is following safety precautions when it comes to cybersecurity, if you have just one person that's not following just even these common sense tips, it can really lead to some problems and cyber breaches. So again, obvious, use complex passwords. Now, of course, many passwords or many websites are requiring you to enter complex passwords, and they won't even let you create a password without making it more complex, and they give you a hint whether your password is safe or whether it's strong or not. But not all websites require you to have a strong or safe password. So that's just common sense for everyone to be doing nowadays. You should not be using the same password for multiple websites. And I know we all do it. And it is a really hard thing to break. There's so many passwords to remember. So what I am going to suggest to you is that you consider using and getting a password manager. And I'll be talking to you about that in just a minute. But moving on, before I explain to you about a password manager, you also need to keep the password for the password manager safe as well. And so that leads me to my final tip on this password safety, which is do not put your password on a sticky note and leave it on your computer or your monitor. And I can guarantee you that at least half of you could walk around your office right now and look in at somebody's desk or their computer, and you would find somewhere sitting on their desk a sticky note with a password. Whether it be the password to log into the computer or whether it be a password to log into some website, but and we're just beyond that nowadays. We really just can't be doing that anymore. So it really should become policy for users to never write down passwords and leave them in any kind of visible location. So let's talk about the password manager. So they are apps. I have one on my phone. I actually happen to use one called LastPass. It was recommended to me by a couple of our WAMS engineers. For this webinar, I did some research because not everyone's going to want to use the same password manager. You should research and do what works well for you. But if you simply go to a browser and you type in PC Magazine 10 Best Password Managers, this particular article that I found and I've highlighted here will pop up. It may not pop up as your very first search results, and there may be others, other links that you might want to research, but I found this to be a very clear and precise article on how to determine what password manager might be best for you. If you would like a link to this web page, go ahead and feel free to email info@wamsinc.com and we can send you a link to this article. Our final topic, or my final topic on tips today, is Mimecast email security. And what that is a email security application that integrates with Outlook. And we provide this as our solution, our email security solution for our clients. There's a lot more to it, but I wanted to mention this to you because it will come up in our next webinar, and also that it is a program and application that we ourselves use. And if you noticed that today the screenshots that I shared didn't include any actual spam emails from my own WAMS account or any of those from WAMS, and that's because the Mimecast email security is so strong that I don't actually have any emails in my inbox that are spam or dangerous or suspicious. Now, Mimecast caught them, and I can go and use the Mimecast application, and I can go and look at the list of those blocked emails. So it's not like they weren't trying to hit our email server. It's just that they didn't show up in my inbox. So I don't actually currently have any examples to show you because our Mimecast email security is so strong. Now, that doesn't mean that things don't slip through. So, you know, just be aware that there's nothing that's ever 100% secure, but I do want to let you know that that's a solution that's very useful that WAMS can discuss with you and your firm if you wish. So that's the end of my tips for today. I'm going to turn this back over to Ashley.
Thank you, Kathleen. Once again, if you have any questions about the tips discussed today, you have any questions about Mimecast, or you would like that link to that list sent, please email info@wamsinc.com and we will be happy to assist. Now, if this was helpful, but you'd like to dive a little deeper, or maybe you need some education and training on security or other applications, WAMS can help. Kathleen provides trainings both remotely and in-house, and these can be group sessions or one-on-one, so there's a total customization there. And we can cover anything up to general software, legal software, custom macro packages, Microsoft Office, document management systems, as well as security training. So again, email info@wamsinc.com to learn more. Now, if any of you are curious about what else WAMS can do to make your IT solution the best it can be, we offer managed services, cloud services, projects and consulting, security auditing and implementation, disaster recovery, and of course, training. And if you'd like to learn more, you can call us at 800-421-7151 or email us at wamsinc.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and be sure to join us next month on Wednesday, February 27, to hear a true and quite comical story of a phishing attempt WAM's very own Matt Morris experienced, how he handled it, and the best ways that you can spot and combat a phishing attempt.